Look at the sky. Take a long, deep look. To the naked eye, the velvet curtain of the night seems as eternal and unchanging as it has for the last 10,000 years. We've built our civilizations, fought our wars, and dreamed our small dreams under that silent canopy, convinced that its stillness was a sign of safety. But over the last 72 hours, from the dawn of March 13th to this very second, on the 16th of March, 2026, that silence has been revealed as a lie. While you were caught in the mundane rhythm of your life, while you were drinking your morning coffee or scrolling through meaningless headlines, the universe was screaming. We are no longer living in a predictable galaxy. We are survivors in a celestial war zone, drifting on a fragile blue speck through a graveyard of stars. The data is pouring in from our most advanced eyes in the dark, the James Webb, the Atlas arrays, the deep space probes, and it tells a story of a cosmos that is suddenly, violently, waking up. Today, we are peeling back the veil on the terrifying truths that NASA and the world's space agencies are still struggling to process. This isn't just a news update. This is the 72-hour cosmic blackout, a period of time where our reality fractured and the abyss finally looked back. Let's start with how close we came to the end. Just yesterday, the darkness nearly touched us. You didn't feel it, but the Earth's gravitational well experienced a subtle, sickening shudder. Out of the blinding glare of the sun, a region of space we call the blind spot, a silent predator emerged. Designated by astronomers as Asteroid 2026 EG1, this was not just another rock. It was a jagged, light-drinking hunk of primordial iron and silica, the size of a city bus, screaming through the vacuum at a velocity that defies human comprehension. 30,000 miles per hour. But the speed isn't what should keep you awake tonight. It's the silence. 2026 EG1 represents the ultimate failure of our planetary defense systems. We have spent billions on radar, on infrared surveys, on the promise that we would never be blindsided like the dinosaurs were. And yet, this ghost asteroid bypassed every single one of them. It hid in the solar glare, masked by the very star that gives us life. And it wasn't detected until it had already crossed the moon's orbit. By the time the Atlas system triggered its red-level alerts, the object was so close that if its trajectory had been off by just 1/10 of a degree, there would have been no time for a DART mission, no time for nuclear interceptors, and certainly no time for you to say goodbye to the people you love. Imagine it, a sun-bright flash over a major city, followed by a shockwave that turned steel into vapor and stone into glass. There would have been no warning, just a sudden, absolute erasure. It missed us this time, a near miss in astronomical terms, but the message it left behind is haunting. The universe does not owe us a warning. It does not have to telegraph its punches. We are moving through a cosmic shooting gallery, and for a few hours this weekend, humanity was the bullseye in a game of Russian roulette that we didn't even know we were playing. The near miss of 2026 EG1 was a physical threat, a reminder of our fragile mortality. But as we moved into the late hours of March 14th, the James Webb Space Telescope sent back a stream of data from the outer reaches of our solar system that attacked something even deeper: our sense of place in the hierarchy of life. The target was Europa, the sixth moon of Jupiter. For decades, Europa has been the golden child of astrobiology. We looked at its cracked, icy shell and dreamed of a vast, hidden ocean, a salty, warm abyss containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. We told ourselves that if life existed elsewhere in this system, it was there, swimming in the dark, waiting for us to find it. But the data that flickered across the monitors at the Space Telescope Science Institute within the last 48 hours has turned that dream into a chilling mystery. Astronomers focusing the Webb's near-infrared spectrograph on a region known as Terra Regio, a chaotic, jagged terrain of disrupted ice, detected a massive, localized concentration of carbon dioxide CO2. At first, the hope was that this carbon came from external sources, perhaps delivered by ancient cometary impacts. But the isotopic signature is clear. This carbon isn't from space. It's not from the surface. It is seeping. It is bubbling up from the depths of the subglacial ocean itself. This is the chemical fingerprint of a world that is geologically and perhaps biologically active. But active is a sanitized word. In the cold, hard reality of the Jovian system, this means Europa is breathing. The $2 is being churned up from the internal heat of the moon's core, breaking through the miles-thick ice crust in regions of chaos terrain, where the ground has literally been reshuffled by the violence of the abyss below. When we say Europa is breathing, we have to ask, what kind of metabolism is producing that breath? On Earth, $CO, $2 is a byproduct of life as we know it. But don't let your imagination settle on friendly dolphins or bioluminescent fish. Imagine the conditions of the Europan floor. Absolute, crushing pressure. A darkness so profound that the concept of sight has never existed. And Jupiter, a gas giant that acts as a massive particle accelerator, bathing its moons in lethal doses of radiation. Whatever is surviving, thriving, or metabolizing in that black brine has been doing so in isolation for 4 billion years. It is a planetary-scale incubator for the alien. The latest thermal mapping shows that these $CO, $2 vents are warmer than the surrounding ice, suggesting a heat source that isn't just tidal, it's concentrated. If there is a biosphere down there, it is ancient, powerful, and entirely indifferent to the existence of a small, warm-blooded species on a rocky planet 3 units closer to the Sunday. We are no longer asking, is there life on Europa? We are now forced to confront the reality that something massive and incomprehensible is stirring beneath the ice, and we have just seen its first exhaled breath. We are looking at a moon that functions as a silent, frozen lung, and it is waking up. While the chemical breath of Europa was haunting the minds of astrobiologists, a much more violent revelation was being decoded by the deep space telemetry teams. We often think of space as a vacuum, an empty stage where stars perform their slow, multi-billion-year dances. But within the last 72 hours, we received a reminder that the stage is often a slaughterhouse. Astronomers, using a combination of the Spitzer Legacy archives and real-time gravitational wave detectors, have confirmed what can only be described as a planetary autopsy, roughly 11,000 light-years from Earth, in a star system that was once thought to be a candidate for habitable worlds. A catastrophe occurred that defies human scale. 2 massive rocky planets, one roughly the size of Earth, the other slightly smaller, like Mars, have collided. This wasn't a glancing blow or a slow, gravitational merger. The data suggests a high-velocity, head-on impact. A planetary-scale murder. When we look through our infrared sensors today, we don't see planets. We see a smear of glowing, white-hot dust, a ring of pulverized silica, vaporized iron, and the gaseous remains of what were once atmospheres. When you gaze at that infrared glow, you are looking at the total erasure of everything. Imagine every mountain range, every canyon, every potential ocean, and every possible civilization that might have been emerging on those worlds, erased in a single afternoon. In the time it takes you to watch a movie, 2 entire worlds were ground into stardust. This event is a terrifying mirror to our own history. We know that billions of years ago, a planet-sized body named Theia collided with the proto-Earth, a cataclysm that eventually formed our moon. We like to tell ourselves that such violence is a thing of the early universe, a chaotic phase that the cosmos has since outgrown. But this new discovery proves that the era of planetary destruction is not over. It is ongoing. It is happening right now. The chilling difference between our moon's formation and this 11,000 light-year distant tragedy is the reconstruction. Our collision led to a stable system, a cradle for life. This one resulted in nothing but a debris field, a zombie ring of cooling magma orbiting a lonely star. It reminds us that habitability is not a right. It is a fragile, temporary privilege granted by the chaotic whims of orbital mechanics. We are one stray gravitational tug from a passing rogue star, one slight shift in our orbital eccentricity from becoming nothing more than a smear of infrared light for some distant, alien telescope to analyze. We are survivors of a collision we don't remember, living on the edge of a collision we won't see coming. But as we moved into the final 24 hours of this cosmic blackout, the terror shifted from the physical to the fundamental. We thought we understood how the universe was built. We had the Big Bang, the slow cooling of gas, the gradual birth of stars, and the patient growth of galaxies over billions of years. It was a neat, logical timeline. But over this past weekend, that timeline was incinerated. James Webb has been staring into the deepest, darkest corners of the dawn of time, a period just a few 100 million years after the universe began. And what it found are the little red dots. At first glance, they look like tiny, harmless embers in the dark. But the spectroscopic analysis just finalized in the last 48 hours reveals a truth that is breaking the minds of theoretical physicists. These aren't just stars. They are ultra-compact, monstrously massive black holes. Here is the problem. According to every law of physics we possess, they shouldn't exist. To reach that size, a black hole needs to feed. It needs time, billions of years of devouring gas and stars to grow into a supermassive titan. Yet, these little red dots are already titans at a time when the universe was still in its infancy. It is the cosmic equivalent of walking into a hospital nursery and finding a newborn infant that stands 7 feet tall and weighs 300 pounds. It is a biological impossibility. And in the case of these black holes, it is a physical impossibility. The existence of these entities suggests that our understanding of space-time is not just slightly off, it is fundamentally broken. Some astronomers are now whispering the G word, glitches. These red dots might be scars from a previous iteration of the cosmos, remnants of a big bounce that survived the reset of the Big Bang. Or worse, they are gateways, wounds in the fabric of our dimension, where matter is being poured into our reality from an outside source. We are looking at the errors in the simulation of our universe. These black holes grew too fast because they didn't follow our rules. They are staring back at us from the beginning of time with a cold red intensity, reminding us that we are guests in a house where the walls are still wet and the foundation is built on a logic we can't fathom. Every time Webb looks deeper, the universe doesn't get clearer. It gets more impossible. We are witnessing the breakdown of the standard model, and what lies beneath is a dark, chaotic void that doesn't care about our equations. As we move further into the final hours of this 7-2-hour cycle, a new and perhaps more unsettling phenomenon has begun to emerge from the deep space acoustic sensors. We call space a vacuum, a place where sound cannot travel. But that is a half-truth. Space is filled with plasma, with gravitational waves, and with electromagnetic oscillations that can be sonified, turned into sounds that the human ear can perceive. Within the last 24 hours, the Voyager probes, still screaming their silent messages from the interstellar medium, have detected a shift in the background hum of the void. It is a deepening of the cosmic static, a low-frequency vibration that feels less like noise and more like a collective indrawing of breath. In the niche communities of theoretical astrophysics, they are calling it the Great Dimming of Information. It's as if the universe itself is beginning to redact its own history. Consider the little red dots we discussed. If they represent a glitch or an impossible growth, then the silence following them is even more terrifying. We are finding that as we look deeper into the past, the light isn't just redshifted. It is being distorted by dark flow's massive, invisible rivers of matter that are pulling entire galaxy clusters toward an unknown point outside our observable horizon. This suggests that our entire visible universe, everything we have ever seen, mapped, and named, is merely a small, detached bubble of foam floating on a much larger, much darker ocean. And that ocean is moving. We aren't just drifting. We are being towed. This realization brings us back to the asteroid 2026 EG-1. When we saw it, it was almost too late. But what about the things we don't see? The dark flow suggests that there are structures out there, megavoids or gargantuan concentrations of mass that are so large they don't just exert gravity. They exert will over the trajectory of billions of stars. We are living in a house that is being dragged through the woods at night, and we are only just now noticing the vibrations in the floorboards. The terror of the last 72 hours isn't just about the threats we've identified. It's about the scale of our ignorance. We've spent centuries trying to conquer space with our minds, building telescopes and probes to act as our outposts. But the events of March 13th to March 16th have shown us that our outposts are blind. We missed an asteroid in our own backyard. We miscalculated the age of the first giants. We are watching planets die and moons breathe, and all we can do is record the data as the abyss widens. As we settle into the cold reality of the 16th of March 2026, we must confront a psychological horror that is perhaps more jarring than any physical impact. It is called the observer effect, but on a cosmological scale. In quantum mechanics, the mere act of observing a particle changes its state. But what happens when we apply that to the vast, dark architecture of the universe? For the last 72 hours, our most powerful instruments have been observing things that defy logic. And in doing so, we might be realizing that the universe is not just stranger than we suppose, as J.B.S. Haldane once said, but stranger than we can suppose. Take the little red dots again. If they truly are scars from a previous universe or gateways for incoming matter, our observation of them is like peeling a scab off the fabric of space-time. By measuring them, by quantifying their impossible mass, we are forced to admit that our laws of physics are merely local suggestions. We are like prisoners who have spent their whole lives studying the patterns of shadows on a cell wall, only to have a crack appear in the stone that reveals a roaring, chaotic fire outside. This leads us to a terrifying question. Is the universe waking up because we are looking at it, or are we only looking at it because it is waking up? The synchronization of these events, the stealth asteroid, the breathing moon, the planetary collision, and the impossible black holes all within a 3-day window, feels less like a coincidence and more like a systemic shift. In computer science, when multiple errors occur simultaneously in different sectors of a program, it usually means the underlying operating system is failing. If the universe is an operating system, then the 72-hour cosmic blackout is our first notification of a critical system error. We see the glitch in the black holes. We see the corrupted data in the planetary debris 11,000 light-years away. We see the peripheral failure in our inability to track a bus-sized rock until it was at our throats. We are no longer just observers. We are witnesses to a cosmic transition that we do not have the vocabulary to describe. NASA and other agencies are currently in a state of quiet panic. They are releasing the data, yes, but they are framing it in the language of exciting new discoveries. They use words like unexpected and intriguing to mask the fact that they are looking at a house whose foundations are liquefying. They are trying to keep the public from realizing that the velvet curtain of the night sky is actually a thin, fraying veil, and that something massive, ancient, and perhaps hungry is leaning against the other side. As the sun sets on the 16th of March, 2026, we are left with a silence that is heavier than the one we started with 72 hours ago. It is the silence of a species that has just realized it is not the master of its own house, but merely a tenant in a structure that is far older and far more dangerous than we ever dared to imagine. We have spent centuries looking for signs of life in the cosmos, but now that the signs are appearing in the $CO, $2 vents of Europa and the little red dots of the early universe, they don't feel like an invitation. They feel like a warning. This 72-hour cycle has proven that our cosmic safety was an illusion born of a lack of data. We were safe only because we were blind. Now that the James Webb and the Atlas arrays have given us sight, we see the predators in the sun's glare. We see the planetary autopsies that remind us of our own inevitable end. We see the glitches that suggest our reality is far more fragile than the stone and steel of our cities. There is a concept in philosophy known as existential dread, the realization of one's own smallness in the face of an infinite and indifferent universe. But what we are experiencing now is something more acute. It is cosmic horror. It is the realization that the universe is not just indifferent. It is active, it is violent, and it is governed by laws that make human existence look like a statistical fluke, a brief, flickering spark between two eternities of darkness. NASA and the world's elite scientists will spend the next few months trying to normalize these findings. They will write papers, hold press conferences, and create CGI models to explain away the little red dots and the Europa breath. They will tell you that we are safer than ever because we are learning more than ever. But don't let the clinical language fool you. To know these things is to be forever changed. You cannot unsee the asteroid that nearly erased your city. You cannot unhear the breath of a frozen moon. Tonight, when you look up at the stars, don't look for beauty. Look for the truth. Look for the gaps between the stars, for that is where the real power lies. Look for the red glows that shouldn't exist. Look for the shadows that move against the solar glare. The sky is no longer a ceiling. It is a bottomless abyss. And in the last 72 hours, that abyss has finally begun to speak. The question is, are we brave enough to listen? Or will we retreat back into the comfortable lies of our small, silent world? If you felt the chill of the cosmic void today, stay with us. We are the sentinels on the edge of the unknown, tracking every heartbeat of the cosmos so you don't have to face the darkness alone. If you crave the truth about what lies beyond the atmosphere, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The next 72 hours could bring a discovery that changes everything or a threat we never saw coming. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies, but never forget how small we truly are.